Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the shop for the Halloween special, and in this video about carving a pumpkin with a laser, I brandish a large knife. This is not a laser. I give an update on a completely unrelated video. The solar gazebo's finished. And Jeremy Clarkson gets mad that I stole his bit.
This is no time for cocking about!
Before all that, unless you didn't read the title, you already know that in this video I'm going to be carving this pumpkin with a laser, specifically my Glowforge laser cutter. So this is not actually my first time carving a pumpkin with a laser. I've done it twice before. Last year I did it. I carved the Avengers here, and I actually did a video. You can check out that video, link in description. And before that, before I made a YouTube channel, I did these two. So every year for the past 10 years, I've done some kind of pumpkin carving of a fictional character. And more recently, since I've had the Glowforge, they've been with the laser. So before I had the laser, I was carving pumpkins the normal way, but a little bit better if I do say so myself. But it's always been a fictional character of some kind. So with Chadwick Bosman passing away recently from cancer, I'm going to make this year's pumpkin carving be Black Panther, specifically this picture, which is from the Avengers Infinity War promos. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to do a little bit of editing on this. I'll talk about that in a minute. But first, this pumpkin does not fit in a Glowforge laser cutter. There are some lasers that'll do it. Mine won't. So with there only being about 2.5 inches of space in the Glowforge laser cutter, I'm going to have to chop off the face of this pumpkin. Now I tried to find one with a relatively flat surface. This is the best I could do. Alright, now first things first, this is not a laser. I have to cut the face of the pumpkin off first, so I'm just doing this roughly. It's not the sharpest knife, to be honest. And I'm just going to cut the face off the pumpkin so that it will hopefully fit in the laser. While I'm cutting this, just to let you know that if you want to try this project, you can actually use the link in my description. There's a referral code, and you can get up to $500 off a Glowforge laser cutter. A bunch of people have used them already and saved a ton of money. And it helps out the channel. I may have cut off too big of a piece. This will be fun. Alright, there we go. Now this might be too tall. That might be a problem. So to make this thing show up a little better when I engrave it, I'm going to actually scrape the back down and try and thin it out. That way more light will be able to get through. Alright, so while I'm scraping this, I'll quickly explain the process of how I'm going to engrave this. Alright, so I started with this picture right here. It is a poster promo from Infinity War, and I specifically chose a picture with his helmet off, because I thought that would give a little more detail than with his helmet on. And especially since this is a tribute to Chadwick Bosman, and the Black Panther helmet doesn't have a whole lot of detail that I think will show up on the pumpkin. So the problem with using this image as is that the Glowforge, when it engraves, the darker the spot on the image is, the more powerful the engraving, so the deeper it'll go. And because of the way I'm going to be lighting this, the deeper something is, the more light comes to the pumpkin, and therefore the lighter it is. So if that makes sense, I have to flip the image. So I went into Graphic Converter, which is a free photo editor, and I inverted the image, and then I darkened it up a little bit just to make sure the engraving was deep enough to let enough light through, and I went ahead and cropped off the text on the bottom because I'm not skilled enough at Photoshop to remove them. And now with this inverted image, these spots that I want to be lighter are now darker and will be engraved deeper, allowing more light to come through and making them lighter. If that makes any sense. There's so much pumpkin on the ground, it's gonna be a pain in the ass to clean up. Alright, so now I've thinned out the back. Off camera, I'll be cleaning out the pumpkin. You don't need to see me do that because most of you have probably done that dozens of times. So here is the new face. It is a little thick. I'm hoping I'm not too tall here. I should be fine. But I've now scraped the back. I may scrape more off after the engraving, depending on how it looks. And so now, as you can see, this can now go back on. So as it turns out, this is a little bit too thick to fit my laser, so I'm just gonna go around and cut a ring off the bottom. And I can stick this ring in as a spacer, so it hopefully won't look too different. So now I just need to pop this in the laser. Before I go any farther with the pumpkin, the solar gazebo's finished. So as you can see, we've replaced the deck and the ground that was there with this nice stamped concrete, and we've added some furniture and a rug. And not only that, we have also added a fountain, power outlets. There's 3 power outlets, all waterproofed. Oh yeah, and it's got lights. And they also do this. Anyway, back to the pumpkin. One nice thing about the Glowforge software is I can just hit set focus and tell it I want it to focus there, and it will. Okay, so I got the pattern in, and if you hear, yes, here are my settings. It's all ready to go. So we're gonna take it an hour and 25 minutes. Alright, it is out of the laser. So, you may be thinking this does not look like much right now, but that is because this is designed to look good when light is coming through it. And because of that, you can see all this black here, that is just soot. It comes off. So I'm just going to get a wet paper towel and wipe it off. That way it doesn't block any light, because it definitely will. It just comes right off. The one thing I don't like about this particular design is that it's very square, as you can see. The one I did last year, I'll put a picture of it again, the picture had a lot of black around the edges, which when inverted became white and wasn't engraved, so it didn't look very boxy. But unfortunately I couldn't find a picture that I liked in time of Black Panther that had that particular feature. So I'm just dealing with it. But I did look through it with like a flashlight behind it, and it's already looking really good. You'll just have to wait and see that. I'm not gonna be able to get off all of the soot, but as long as I get most of it, it will be fine. Down, put this thing back together. So one small issue with carving a pumpkin this way is the usual small candle in a pumpkin is nowhere near bright enough to really get a good image. So the solution I came up with 3 years ago, and still haven't changed, is a light bulb attached to a power cord. It's that simple. And I cut a little hole in the back to run the power cord through, and I made sure it was a fluorescent so it won't catch the pumpkin on fire. And I also have gone ahead and scraped out a ton of the material in the back, making sure that this wall is very thin, allowing as much light as possible to come through and make the image look really good. So I'll admit right now it doesn't look that great, but in about a minute or so it'll look super awesome. And don't fast forward, I need the watch time. All right, to start, we're gonna need to put this light bulb in. Cut a small hole in the back for the power cord. Just run that through. And I'm just gonna set this in there. There's no need to be super precise about that. And because I had the ring cut off, this will go here. Just ignore the fact that there's a little bit of a gap. It'll be fine. And to attach all this, I'm gonna be using these brad nails. Here we go, closing it up. There's these rings on the outside. If I'd cut it better the first try, that would be avoided, but it'll just have some lighter rings around the edges. And there we go, it looks pretty ugly right now, but once the lights are off, it'll look awesome. Here we go, big reveal in 3, 2, 1. I'd say that looks pretty good. It's a photorealistic carving in a pumpkin done with the Glowforge Laser cutter. And if you want to make one of these for yourself, you can use my link in the description to get up to $500 off a Glowforge Laser cutter. And even on video, it doesn't do it justice. The amount of detail that you can get from a pumpkin. Well, I'd say other than me cutting this at the wrong height and having to trim it back, this thing turned out really good. So I hope you enjoy this one-day build. In tribute to Chadwick Bosman, it turned out really well, other than me cutting the pumpkin to the wrong thickness. But anyway, if you want to see more projects like this, including next year's pumpkin, which I don't know what it'll be yet, but I plan on doing a pumpkin every year. You can see last year's video in the description. Subscribe. I've got tons of cool projects coming up. Pumpkin every year. Projects are going to keep getting bigger and bigger as I go. If you like this project, hit the like button, subscribe button, notification bell. You can follow me on Instagram at Into the WoodShop, also on TikTok at Into the WoodShop. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.